Welcome back to our channel. Are artificial seasonings harmful? That's what we are discussing today. So join me as we look at the facts. Then at the end of the day, you answer the question by yourself. So we are taking this discussion from our article on our health website. The title of the article is Artificial Seasonings Harmful? So you can find it on our website www.theacemedcoms.com. I will leave the link to the article in the comment section. So let's look at the details. What are artificial seasonings? We know during these festive seasons or during occasions, a whole lot of cooking happens, and we tend to over-depend, over-rely on some of these taste enhancers because you want to present what is good to your visitors. So, and we have a whole lot of them all over the world, coming as cubes, as powders, and in so many different fashions. So today we want to look at what these seasonings are and whether they are harmful or whether there are things we can use or we should throw away. Now, what are artificial seasonings? Artificial seasonings are flavors that are not derived from natural sources, but rather are chemically produced in a lab. So they are not natural. All over the world, we have our natural spices and natural seasonings. So these ones are chemically synthesized in a lab. So that's why we call them artificial seasonings. And why do people patronize? Why do we use them? One is that most of them are more affordable than the natural ones. And then consistency, they have a more consistent flavor profile. Also, shelf stability, they last longer most times than natural seasonings we have. And the one we love so much is that they have this intense flavor, unlike what you have in natural seasonings. We have so many brands all over the world. Now, what do they contain? Artificial seasonings contain salt. They contain taste enhancers like monosodium glutamate, disodium guanylate, and all others. They contain hydrogenated oil, which are trans fats. Now, trans fats are fats that are not good for your body. Then they contain starch. They also contain dehydrated vegetables or meat extracts. So, are they harmful? What are the facts and figures? What does research say about artificial seasonings? Now we'll move from what we know to what we don't know. What do we know? They contain a whole lot of sodium. That's what you have found in salt. And we know that sodium is linked to high blood pressure, heart disease, and sometimes even kidney diseases. Then we have the monosodium glutamate, which contains some ingredients that may trigger allergy. Allergy means reaction. So some people may react excessively to it by having headaches. Even sometimes some people may have heart palpitations, their heart beats faster than normal, or even some level of inflammation in their body. Then we have the hydrogenated oil that contains trans fats. Now, trans fats increases the level of cholesterol in your body, and this may build up in your blood vessels and increase the risk of heart problems. So currently, there is no particular dosage that has been approved. There is no particular daily intake that has been approved. So what this calls for is that as a person, that you should know how to regulate your intake. Now, what are the potential health risks of artificial seasonings? We've already discussed the high sodium content that you have in seasoning cubes. We also discussed the presence of trans fats. You know, sometimes we eat and think that is only when we add some particular types of oils that will have this trans fat, but artificial seasonings also contain these trans fats. We've discussed the allergy that you can have from monosodium glutamate. Then artificial seasoning increases the risk of overconsumption. Because the food is sweet, most times we will not know when to stop. And that's a risk factor for obesity and other diseases. Then some of them will contain also some heavy metals like iron, lead, and overconsumption can increase the level of these heavy metals in the body, and there are health concerns associated with this. So what should you do then? There's no recommendation that completely applauds the use of artificial seasoning, but this calls for regulation. Since we don't know the safe limits, then if you can avoid, you should avoid. If you can reduce, you should reduce. But what are the safer alternatives, especially if you are in the African setup? We have some traditional African seasonings like Iruda's locust bean. We have the sesame seeds, crayfish, stockfish, even mushroom, shrimps. So these are the alternatives that you can use. We also have some other natural spices like garlic, onions, ginger, chili, curry powder. So if you can get these in their natural state, not the refined ones that you find on the shelves, then this is better than using artificial seasoning. So let's go back to the question we started with. Are artificial seasonings harmful? We can see from the discussion that they may be harmful when you use them to a certain extent, but then we don't know the limits beyond which it becomes very harmful. So if you can avoid, avoid. If you can reduce, reduce. But my advice to you is that try to go close to nature as much as possible. So remember that we'll have the full article on our website. I'll leave the link to the article in the comment section. So access the article and be informed. See you on the next video. And remember to like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.
Please subscribe.